Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Before we even jump into things today, please take a quick second to subscribe to Rugby Obsession right now, just so you ensure you never miss any of our analysis.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to miss what we've got coming up.
Exactly. So our mission today is to explore this really fascinating and honestly quite positive blueprint to revitalize one of the absolute greatest sports dynasties on Earth. I mean, we're talking about the All Blacks.
Right, arguably the most mythical aura in global sports.
Yeah, but they've really struggled recently. I mean, we are looking at Scott Robertson actually becoming the very first person to be sacked as the All Blacks boss.
Which is just wild to even say out loud.
It really is, and that comes right after those really tough periods under Ian Foster and even the latter stages of Steve Hanson's tenure.
Yeah, the global landscape has just shifted. And honestly, why you, the listener, should care about this, even if you aren't like a massive rugby fanatic, is because this is a masterclass in how legacy organizations have to embrace modern economic realities.
Right.
Like, how do you adapt and survive when your 100-year-old traditional model suddenly hits a wall?
Well, how do you fix a struggling giant, right? You look at changing the absolute biggest rule in the playbook.
The golden rule.
Exactly. We're looking at the views of Sir Graham Henry, the 2011 World Cup winning coach, and he believes New Zealand rugby desperately needs to relax its strict overseas policy.
Yeah, because right now, if you go play abroad, you completely lose your test eligibility.
Right, you're out. But Henry is suggesting we need flexible criteria. He brought up this idea of maybe allowing players who have hit 20 tests to go play overseas and still remain eligible.
Which makes a lot of sense.
It really does. It's almost like, I was thinking about this, it's like a university study abroad program, but for elite athletes.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like when you go overseas, you don't just learn new skills, you come back more worldly and more confident.
Well, and you see that perfectly with the Geordie Barrett example that Henry points out.
Oh, right, his time over in Ireland.
Exactly. Barrett's year at Leinster was just immense for his development, not just as a player, but as a person. And you can see that translating into this massive influence he currently has with the Hurricanes.
He brings all that Northern Hemisphere tactical knowledge right back home.
Yeah, and look at the blueprint South Africa has laid out. I mean, they are currently the best team in the world by a considerable margin.
Oh, absolutely. Back-to-back World Cups.
Right, and most of their international players play abroad. They've proved that the globalized model absolutely works.
Okay, so if Henry's solution is so brilliant and it's totally proven by South Africa, why doesn't New Zealand rugby just implement it tomorrow?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. Or, well, the multi-million-dollar question.
Right. Well, before we get into the harsh economic realities of why they haven't done it, this is a perfect time to remind you to hit that subscribe button for Rugby Obsession so you're always in the loop with our deep dives.
Definitely do that, because the financial squeeze here is, well, it's pretty shocking.
Yeah, break down those numbers from Brent Empey for us, because they are insane.
Okay, so former New Zealand rugby chair Brent Empey pointed out that between 2012 and 2022, both the revenue and the costs skyrocketed. They went from $100 million to $260 million.
$260 million?
Yeah. Empey called it a very large beast to feed. And the craziest part of all this growth, there has been absolutely no pay increase for Super Rugby players since, like, 2016 or 2017.
Wait, so if South Africa solved their financial issues by letting French and Japanese clubs pay their players' salaries, why can't New Zealand do the same?
Ah, and that is the TV money trap.
The TV money trap.
Yeah, so MP clarifies this. A massive chunk of New Zealand rugby's revenue comes directly from the Sky television deal.
Okay.
If you let your top players, your Geordie Barretts, leave the local Super Rugby competition, the domestic product instantly weakens.
Oh, I see. Because the Stars aren't playing at home every week.
Exactly. And if the product weakens, Sky pays less. And if Sky pays less, that whole $260 million financial house of cards just collapses.
Wow. So they literally can't afford to let them leave, but they also can't afford to pay them more?
It's a complete catch-22.
And that financial trap at the very top is having this direct, really tangible impact on the pipeline of young players at the bottom.
Oh, the grassroots squeeze is severe.
Yeah, Henry observed that New Zealand is basically losing its best young talent to rugby league right now.
Yeah, specifically to the NRL.
Right. And it's just math.
Yeah.
The NRL offers about 700 contracts, and New Zealand rugby only has a mere 200 to offer.
And both Henry and Impey entirely agree on why this is happening. The young players simply aren't getting enough game time.
They're just stuck.
Yeah, you have these Super Rugby squads sitting at 38 players, plus another 12 trainees, and the top prospects end up doing nothing but, as Impey put it, holding tackle bags.
Literally just holding tackle bags at practice.
Yeah, never actually seeing the pitch.
Which perfectly brings up that story about Harry Inch. It's so relatable.
Oh, the Nelson College kid.
Yes. Highly regarded prospect out of Nelson College, he makes it into the Crusaders training squad, which is huge. But he's just stuck. So what does he do? He switches over to the New Zealand Warriors in the NRL.
Just to get on the field.
Exactly. And the craziest detail is that he had never played a game of rugby league in his life.
Wow.
Not one game. But he switched sports entirely just so he could actually get some game time instead of holding a bag.
That really paints a picture of how broken the pipeline is. So to fix this, Henry has this radical expansion idea.
Okay, what's his pitch?
He says they need to increase the number of New Zealand Super Rugby sides to 10.
10 teams, so double what they have now.
Exactly. Now, this would create a slightly lower standard of play overall, sure, but it creates a highly competitive environment for these kids to actually play.
Right, getting them off the tackle bags.
Exactly. And he wants to combine this with sides like the Fijian Drua and actual national setups for Samoa and Tonga, as opposed to the Moana Pacifica model, just to develop local talent and keep players inside the rugby union ecosystem.
It's such an incredible balancing act they're facing.
It really is.
I mean, trying to maintain those historical traditions while navigating $260 million economic realities and, desperately trying to keep young players off the tackle bags and actually on the pitch.
Yeah, something has to give.
And we really want to hear from you on this. Drop into the comments and let us know your thoughts. What do you think is the right path forward for the All Blacks? Should they embrace the globe and change the rules or protect the local product?
Yeah, I'd love to read those comments. And I'll leave you with one final thought to mull over regarding all this.
Hit us.
If New Zealand does eventually rely on, French, Japanese, and English clubs to develop their players both financially and culturally, does the famous All Black identity fundamentally change?
Oh,
Like, does it shift from being a homegrown brotherhood into just a global all-star franchise?
that is a phenomenal question. Does the jersey mean the same thing if you live in Paris 10 months out of the year?
Exactly.
Man, so much to think about. Please remember to give us a subscribe here at Rugby Obsessions so you catch our next breakdown. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.